time. I was facing 5 years in prison. If I'm living my God-given purpose and I'm doing the things that I was created to do to them, that they have something inside, I would make them mad. I would say something nasty to them. I would do something to trigger an emotion.
The worst of the worst, and the other side of it, people with your kind of background
Screaming at God, like, why won't you fix me? Why wouldn't you fix me like you fixed everybody?
Okay. All right. Hi, and very nice to meet you, Joshua. This is really a pleasure. Maybe first we can just start with a quick introduction of yourself. I can also introduce myself. I'm George Egbuonu, the CEO of BananaCrystal peer-to-peer payment network. And pleasure today to have you. We love what you're doing. And this has been this is one of those interviews that I was really looking forward to. Someone that is not necessarily in the space, but helping people and having such an impact globally all around the world, from the US to Southeast Asia to Africa. And it's really a pleasure to have you on board.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
Maybe you can just give a brief introduction of yourself, your background, just something quick.
Go to my website. I'm going to be honest with you, and you should not edit this out. This is the worst question ever to ask me. Anyone who's ever started a broadcast like this regretted it, because I took over the broadcast and talked for an hour straight. So don't do that. There is no easy introduction for me, because there's a lot that comes with me. I'm not normal, and I'm cool with that. Like I've got a crazy story, but I also have a beautiful story of overcoming. Like, I know what every trauma you can imagine is, but yet by God's grace, here I am, living and pursuing my dreams. It's a miracle. I've got lots of books. There's all kinds of stuff on my website. I've got thousands of pieces of content. If you want to know about me and you want to know all the intricacies, you can learn that way or ask questions. But telling me to tell you about me, I couldn't do it in an hour, much less 30 seconds. So here's what I will say. This is what I will say. I am driven beyond anything else. My main motivation in this world is to not just be a voice for the voiceless, not just to elevate the voices for the voiceless, but I want to equip the voiceless so that they have a voice. That is at the foundation of who I am and what I do and everything I'm about. That would be it.
This is fantastic, and this is what we're just looking for, because I know your background, looking at the books you've done, you've written. One of them was really fascinating. It's on Amazon, The Devil Inside Me. It was more a question for the audience, just to know who they are dealing with. But like he said, we're going to put the links at the end so people can go check out his website and see all he has done. But Joshua has done a lot of good stuff. He's really helped humanity, and that's one of the things that one of the reasons why we wanted to have this interview and this conversation with him. Now, just to go on, maybe you can just share with us, how did your passion, because you are the voice for the voiceless, but how did your passion for amplifying unheard voices begin, and what drives you to be an advocate for those from marginalized backgrounds, especially women?
Okay, I'm going to answer this in two parts. The first version is this. I was very fortunate to grow up my parents were successful. My dad was a successful entrepreneur, his rock band had 2 top 10 hits. My mom was a successful model and successful in real estate. So I grew up around that. So I grew up around success. And yet at the same time, I saw my parents always fighting and doing everything they could for other people that were in need. So I had that impressed on me young. But it also worked out that I started working in healthcare pretty young, working with complex disabilities like ALS, muscular dystrophy, spinal cord injuries, and so on. But even before that, I was going to nursing homes and things like that with my father, helping patients. And so I got to see that. And then I was a wild and rambunctious kid. And, I had a lot of anger issues and a lot of I mean, it's pretty, I was struggling as a kid. But when it came to people who were disabled, I turned into a completely different person. All of a sudden, I was kind-hearted and soft and compassionate and caring. I wasn't like that with anyone else. I was a menace. But there was something in me that always loved fighting for people that didn't know they could fight for themselves. And so, fast forward my life, I was a 20-year chemsex addict, struggled really bad with the drug and sex addiction combined. I made a wreck of my life. The pain of being sexually and physically abused and all the other traumas that were happening to me, I didn't get help. And I turned into a bit of a monster. Like the very first time I did drugs, the nightmares I was having became fantasies, and then I became obsessed, and like I'm just constantly running for myself, running for myself. And I lived a really reckless, brutal, violent, dark life for a long time until 8 years ago. Went to jail for the sixth time. I was facing 5 years in prison. I told the guards when I got or the booking, whatever they're called, the person that was booking me to go into jail. they I told them that I had HIV because I mean I did, but I thought that I was going to get special privileges, but instead they put me in the psych ward. And not this, it was in isolation. There's a psych unit and they put me in isolation. So I couldn't talk to anybody, couldn't see anyone, couldn't see anything, but I could hear the screams of madmen. So
Wow.
as I'm in there and I'm still high as a kite on cocaine and alcohol, and after 24 hours wear off, I realize where I'm at. And it dawned, and I have nowhere to run. I'm not getting out of jail because I'm looking at 5 years. I'm not going. It's not. This is not a one night stay like the other times. I'm
Yeah.
here, and that realization really hit me. Going, wow, you've had every privilege known to man. You've had so much success, and you've wasted all of it. And little by little, that in that prison cell, or that jail cell, it and my life was really flashing before my eyes, all these things that I did wrong, and I was angry and confused about, and like, gosh, what have I done with my life and all of that. Well, at this point, all the screams were getting pretty maddening. I mean, it was very difficult for me to hear, and I just wanted to run, but there was nowhere to run. So I needed a distraction. And so this distraction, I'm like, oh, give me a magazine, give me a book. They wouldn't give me anything. And then for some reason, I remembered this show called Oz that used to be on HBO many years ago. It's a prison
Yeah.
show. Like,
Yeah.
oh, they have to give me a Bible. Oh, hey, guard, can I have a Bible? I'll be right back. A couple hours later, however long it took, because I didn't know what time it was. It just seemed like forever. Finally, a Bible shows up. It was in reading the Bible, and I won't go through the whole story here, but it was going through the Bible. You know, at first, some of it I didn't understand it, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. I grew up in church, but like I'd never read the Bible, even though I grew up in church. But like going through, finally got to Proverbs, and Proverbs is easy to read, and like it was real. Like, wow, I really did do a lot wrong in life. I mean, I really messed all this up. But I went to John, and I started reading John. And reading the story of John and hearing about Jesus the way that I did, it really started to kind of hit my heart a little bit. And I didn't understand. But while that was happening, all of a sudden I got stirred up and angry, and I just started screaming at God and cursing at God, and just like the worst expletives I can imagine. I can't even believe I said these things to God. But I was angry because I'm screaming at God, like, why won't you fix me? Why wouldn't you fix me like you fixed everybody else? I've heard you talk about all these other people that you've just touched and they've been saved and their whole life is fine. Like, I've tried to do right. I've tried to do right. I've tried to turn my life around. And I just keep doing this stuff. I just keep falling back into addiction, keep falling back into bad relationships, keep screwing things up. Just screaming at God. Why won't you fix me? And then all of a sudden, I heard, you have to forgive your father. How in the am I supposed to do that? After what he did to me, what he did to my mom, what he did to my sisters. How am I supposed to do that? Because it happened to him too.
Because it what?
Because it happened to him too.
Oh, wow.
And so all of a sudden, all of this anger and resentment and hatred towards my father, I showed up an hour late to my dad's funeral, high on cocaine, because I was at an orgy the night before with my girlfriend, doing blow till 6 a.m. The funeral started at 8. I showed up at 9:15. High as a kite. Hated him. Hated him. But here it is. All of a sudden, I have compassion for my father. And then I start to realize that I've spent all this time in my life hating my dad, and I not only have I become like my dad, I was worse. And so, fast forwarding the story, that compassion for my father allowed me to not just forgive my dad. It helped me. I'm screaming, crying at this point. Dad, not Heavenly Father, but Dad, even though he's dead, will you forgive me? I'm sorry I showed up and made a mockery of your funeral. I'm sorry I wasn't with you when you were dying. I'm sorry that I just was a lousy son. Like I didn't forgive him. I hated him. And so as I'm begging him to forgive, then I ask for forgiveness from my Heavenly Father. And I go back to reading Proverbs and then go back to reading John again. And all the childhood visions that I had gotten, and my vision started after being molested. That's when I remember my very first vision because it happened right after being molested.
How old were you then?
7.
Oh, wow.
And each traumatic event in my life, I would get a vision. Then the vision started to happen after that on their own, but typically they were born out of trauma. And all of my childhood visions came flooding back at one time. And in that moment, I realized that those visions were God showing me what was possible for my life if I chose what He had for me, not what I was doing. And so ultimately, what changed my life was in this moment of realization. I said, my life is no longer my own. Take my life. It's yours. I surrender. And when I said that, I literally got knocked. It was like lightning hit me on top of my head, knocked me on my butt, and lifted me up at the same time. I can't explain it. It was the most supernatural experience. I've seen some supernatural things in my life. I don't think if that moment didn't happen for me, I'm sure I would have walked away from God a long time ago, because there's been plenty of moments in this journey and pursuing what I believe God called me to do that I wanted to quit. I wanted to give up. I wanted to go, where are you, God? But the thing is, that experience, it changed everything about me. Now, I thought I was going to be in jail or prison for 5 years. I end up getting out 4 days later.
Oh,
And
wow.
walking the
That's like,
streets, walking
that's
the
like a
street.
miracle.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I did no charges, nothing. And I'm walking the streets of downtown LA at like midnight going, okay, God, now what? Like, what am I supposed to do? Because like it was one thing making this promise to serve you and do what you asked me to do behind bars, but now back in LA, really?
Now you're free.
I've got to like, how, how,
Back
how am I
to
gonna
back to
how am I
your
gonna do this? Like way different thing, but the commitment was true. So anyway, so now to answer the question, I had to get that part out of the way because it matters. Or not,
yeah.
I don't want to get it out of the way, but that part of the story matters because I ended up keeping my job. I at that time I was the director of business development for a skincare company that had they made skincare products for all the major brands that you see on the shelves. Like they were the manufacturer. And so I was the director of business development for them. And they kept me employed, which was shocking. Um, but I wasn't really making enough money to live in Southern California. And I knew that part of what God had put on my heart to do was to serve him. And I didn't think selling skincare was what he had in mind. So I knew the visions, I knew the things to do, but I didn't know how to do any of it. And so little by little, I just started taking little steps in faith. Like when an opportunity, like, okay, well, I think what God's called me to do is share my story. Okay, well, I don't know how to do that. So how do I do it? So little by little, I started learning all of these little pieces. And again, there's so many details. I won't go into all of them. But essentially, it would be I would learn something new and I would take a step in faith, and then a step in faith, and then a step in faith. And then I would get more of the vision. So then it'd be another step in faith. And so over the course of 7 years, has been a lot of little steps in faith each day to build what ultimately seemed impossible 7 years ago, but now it's built and ready and I'm doing it, which is shocking. But where it really, really took hold for me, where the whole vision became complete, it became deep rooted, and it became hardwired in my DNA, was I was visiting Minneapolis in May of 2020. I was staying at the Bloomington Hotel. I'm sorry, the Edition Hotel in Bloomington. I think it's called Edison, Edition. It's in Bloomington, Minnesota. You can see downtown out the windows. And this is right after George Floyd was murdered. Downtown was burning. Seeing downtown burn was like a call to my spirit.
So this was during the COVID lockdown period when they had that whole race issue.
And right.
And
Yes. Yeah. And then the riots started and they were just busing in people to destroy the cities. And it was quite the experience. But Jessica, my partner at the time, and still friend, but we went downtown and brought food to the protesters and the National Guard. And that experience, just visiting with people, talking to people, learning about redlining and gentrification, and learning about a lot of other things that I won't say because they'll probably, I don't know where you're going to post this video, but some of these words would actually, if I said it out loud, it would cause trouble because they're not words that people want used. It's a real thing,
yeah,
but I just won't go there. But this is, put it this way. Sometimes things are destroyed for reasons other than what the news tells you. That's all I'm going to say.
yes,
That experience, though, hearing people who have suffered in silence for a long time really spoke to my spirit. And while I have had my experiences in Hollywood and in the entertainment business, I've seen a lot of things on set. I've seen things at parties. I won't go into any of that now. But I have been put in situations where I've had to get the part, I would have to compromise my values. I've been put in some very awkward, bad situations by certain people. Again, I won't go into those stories right now. It's not the place for it. But it's a really bad feeling knowing that you can be the most talented person in the room, but you're not willing to do certain things so you won't get the part.
yes,
That's a bad feeling, even as a man. As a man, knowing that I could have taken my revenge. I mean, I could have done all kinds of things. I'm not a defenseless person, in other words. I started imagining what that was like for women that went through the same thing. And as being someone that's been sexually abused, I'm sensitive to certain topics, but there's things that go way past that. That's what I'm not going into. So those experiences, and then realizing that I'm on the streets right now talking to people who've been in the trenches, who have truly been victimized, who truly know what it's like to be taken advantage of, to truly know what it's like to have their voices taken from them. And one of the prime examples of that is some of the elected leaders or the chosen leaders for certain communities that actually do nothing for the community except take for themselves while shutting up the community that they're supposed to be supporting.
Yes.
Learning about all of that is what ignited my spirit for the way that I use media to not just be a voice for the voiceless and elevate the voices for the voiceless, but to equip them. It all was born in that moment, the full vision of what I was going to do with media, media literacy, and the power of independent media. So, to answer your question again, is that I was inspired by those events because I knew that media controlled the narrative. And right now, the people that were controlling the narrative in media were people who did not want the truth to get out. And so I wanted to take the power that lied in the hands of a few and splinter it into millions of pieces into the hands of the people who were ready to start speaking the truth.
Yes, and this is and what you're saying is actually really key. I'm glad you went through and gave us a little bit of context and background here because that's a thing that makes it even very clear on why you do what you do. That's one of the reasons why we set up a Telewoman campaign, BananaCrystal, for the same reason. Just if you look at it, you share a lot of the experiences that women go through on a daily basis in most developing countries. In Africa, Southeast Asia, women are constantly abused, sexually raped. There are all kinds of things going on in those places.
Disfigured.
Yeah, disfigured. Pedophilia reigns. It's reigns supreme over there. It's just a lot of stuff happens out there. You know, I remember once I was visiting Africa and I was kind of shocked because I'd been away for a while, and then on the streets you see kids begging, doing street hawking. You know, they should be in school. This is a Monday morning. Why are they out on the streets? And you know, and that's just normal. And some of those girls are 9 years old, 10 years old. They get raped. So there's all kinds of atrocities going on. So when we looked at it, we were saying, okay, what can we do to help women? Because women are the bedrock of the family, right? If the women are the ones that would send their kids out there because they have no choice, or they're the ones put in that position where they have no other choice but to do that. So if we can get, you know, set up a program for women, then that will kind of spill over because then you have minority groups, you have disenfranchised people, you have all kinds of people all around the world that are being disenfranchised on a daily basis. But where do we start? We have to pick somewhere. And so I'm glad that you have your experiences, sharing your experiences. You know, you can really, really connect with what's happening on a daily basis all around the world. Even though, you know, like you said, you grew up in a more privileged background, you somehow got to experience the worst of the worst and the other side of it. Typical people with your kind of background never get exposed to that. So they have no context. They have no idea what's happening. They've never seen a jail cell before. They've never seen all the atrocities. They've never been to a riot. They've never seen what, you know, they just have no idea. And it's kind of hard for them to explain, oh, why don't you just go there and get a job? Why don't you just go? And the person is like, you know, there are all these other restrictions. And some of it is also mental, but it's out there. So this is really great what you're doing. Just being able to you know, share your story. I think this would really help people. One other question I have for you there is just how can you share your approach to teaching and mentoring future generations of people so that they are well prepared for the challenges and opportunities of this fourth industrial revolution that we're just entering right now, because we're in the fourth industrial revolution. And you know, what would you say? I would say share your approach to teaching and mentoring this new generation.
It's really not about me at all. I'm fortunate that God gave me the vision for the philosophy, the strategy, but it's customized. What I teach is customized to the individual's own gifts, talents, and intellectual property. I know the systems, like I'm media literate, not just in the sense of knowing how to decipher if something's fake news or not. I'm media literate, meaning that I know all of the available media tools. I know how to use them to make money, but also to get our stories out. I know I'm just aware of all of the different ways to use media and use media actually that's free to be able to monetize our gifts, talents, and intellectual property. But it's truly customized to the to tell you how much customization is in it. What's your budget? I'm not asking you that question literally now,
Yeah,
but I'm literally
yeah,
like, that is one of the questions. If your budget's zero, we have a strategy. If your budget is $100, I have a strategy. If your budget is $200,000, guess what? I've got a really great strategy for you. um,
yeah.
and so, because I did it with no money. I ran a OTT network, Apple TV, Roku, Amazon. I know all that. I did it. I did it with no money. I know how to do it. And so I teach from that lens. Where I'm trained to teach the underserved is because of what I did for myself. But anytime I have a budget, oh, let's have a good time, because it's way better when you have a budget. But I didn't design it for the people with a budget. I designed it for the people that were mentally ill, the people that were physically disabled, the people that were marginalized, the people that didn't have access, even people who don't have access to good internet or a laptop. Like, I needed to create a system that would work for the underserved, and if anything, be able to teach something that people could grow into when they do have the infrastructure to do it. And Africa is a prime example. A lot of people don't realize this, and people make fun of me all the time for saying it, but this is true. Africa is way far advanced when it comes to the fourth industrial revolution than the United States is. And Africa doesn't even have the infrastructure yet. But they are ready. The United States isn't. And that is a fact. There's another fact. There's more money being invested into Africa than any continent in the world for entrepreneurs.
So I guess maybe you can explain what the fourth industrial revolution is. Maybe that kind of give the audience some context.
Well, I mean, so the fourth industrial revolution is just where we're going with technology. This is the new age, the new world that we're going into. I mean, there's no definition for the fourth industrial revolution. I don't use it. It's just the new world. You got to think about this. We're going into a world where Internet of bodies, the Internet of things, everything will be connected. That in itself is going to have implications on everything. There'll be no crime. There'll be everything will be monitored and surveilled. The way that we pay, the new financial system that's coming in, smart cities or freedom cities, if you like, Trump will have freedom cities, 15-minute cities. But we're falling into where we're going is exactly what the World Economic Forum and the United Nations has been telling people for 20, 30 years about this new world where we will own nothing and be happy. Like, there's some truth to that, but
Internet of Things,
right. Nanotechnology, like
nanotechnology,
nanobots, AI, generative AI, virtual experiences, but then but it goes even beyond that. And it's gonna keep growing. Like, what for all of the things that there are to possibly be afraid of, here's what to focus on, in my opinion. The fact that everyone is going to have an equal shot at success. And here's what I mean. Just because you're a tech expert does not mean you're ready for the fourth industrial revolution. You can be rich right now and not be ready for the fourth industrial revolution, because there's a good chance that you're going to lose all your money.
Yes, but I mean, what you're saying is right. You're absolutely right, because all the old established infrastructure is being dissolved as we speak.
Exactly.
Oh,
in real time. In real time.
Everything that used to be controlled by centralized players, like it's all slowly but surely getting dissolved, and it's going to start ramping up very quickly, very soon. And even if you look at, it started off with companies like Uber democratizing and transportation, and then you have Airbnb with accommodation, and then now what we're doing here with BananaCrystal with payments, we're going P2P. Anybody can become a broker. Anyone can become a bureau de change, or some kind of pretty much anybody can provide foreign exchange conversion services, which is something that was not possible before. And if you look at each industry, you're seeing that same kind of disruption happening all at once. And then you have cryptocurrencies, you have a whole new payment system, you have the Internet of Things, so you have micro payments where you can, your refrigerator can dispense some kind of juice and you pay for it, micro payment. There are all kinds of things going on right now, and it's all happening so fast that the average person is not even aware. It's just all converging like very quickly, and people are just not noticing it. So it's really amazing to see what's going on.
And it's also a creator's economy, which is amazing because the days of hiring people to do commercials for you is silly. You can do them yourself. Like you're going to create and sell your own stuff. And instead of having mega celebrities, you'll have tribal leaders or community leaders. The world is just going to be different. And so one of the things I love to say is truth attracts your tribe. And that's never going to be more true than the fourth industrial revolution, because one, there's not going to be any secrets. You might as well get comfortable with who you are now and telling the truth, because if people have been betting their career and success on social media, they're doomed. Because anything you have on social media, first of all, counting on that for your income is silly because it's not going to be there. The other part is this facade of everything being perfect and polished and altered to make me look prettier than I am. That's going to come back and bite people in the butt too, because all that's hidden will be, and I don't even mean this from a biblical stance. I mean, even though it's the Bible, I mean it from a factual place. There's going to be no secrets. Like your disease, all of this is, we're all going to be able to see each other's stuff. It's full transparency. So one of the most important things anybody can do to get ready for the fourth industrial revolution, besides learning media and learning all the technology, is get comfortable with the truth. Because that's the world that we're going to live in, is truth and transparency. And that is why we're going to have tribes, because not everyone's going to align with everybody else's truth. So the people that are willing
maybe
to
you can
put
talk about that a little
there.
bit, right? Not to cut you, but I'm just kind of very curious on that. So it's like, what would you recommend, or what would you say is, let's say somebody in Africa, in Southeast Asia, in South America, or somewhere in one of the developing countries somewhere in the world, or even in this case, female entrepreneurs in marginalized regions, striving to break out of their situation, of their circumstances. What strategies do you believe can help them succeed in this day and age with the fourth industrial revolution? What would you say, if you had to give them advice? What would you say they should be doing at this point?
The absolute best way, the best foundational piece for your media company of the future. And by the way, media is not having a TV show, having a podcast is going to mean nothing. Like, it's just going to be like something you have to do, right? This is not a like, oh, look at me, how cool I am because I have a podcast and a TV show. Like, it means nothing. It's irrelevant, but it's something you need to do. The number one thing that people should do first, it's the best foundational piece there is, and that's write a book. And write a book about who they are, what they've been through, what they've overcome, how they did it, life lessons, and so on. But write the book. I mean, you could write any book you want, I guess, but really a book about you is the best way to get started, especially with where we're going. Because from that book, you can turn it into a movie, you can turn it into a podcast, you can turn it into a course, you could create art if you wanted to. I mean, there's so many different monetization possibilities out of a book. It's the easiest way to get started. It's the best foundational piece to launch.
What would you say with somebody might say, yeah, I don't have anything worthwhile. My life has been very basic. I don't have a book in me. There's this, I've forgotten who said that. There's this quote that everybody has a book in them, but most people don't believe that. They feel like it's something for the expats, something that is not for them.
I'm not a counselor. That's not my issue. Because my approach would be, I would shake them. What's wrong with you? Like I would start, actually, here's exactly what would happen if someone said that to me. I'd start poking at them and I would start trying to trigger their trauma, and I would do all the wrong, this is why I'm not a counselor, because I would pick on them to prove to them that there's something up that I would do everything possible to prove to them that they have something inside. I would make them mad. I would say something nasty to them. I would do something to trigger an emotion to be able to get into their heart to go, that's what I'm talking about. You watched your mom get abused. You went through abuse. You did whatever it may be. Your girlfriend cheated on you. You never felt good enough. You won golf tournaments and no one told you a good job. You were all American, but no one cared. Like, whatever it may be. Like, there's something there. There's something there. So I would poke at them.
Don't die with the story in your head. That's the...
Yeah.
Don't die with that story in your head.
Exactly.
Because it can help somebody else. Yeah.
But I'm not a good counselor, so that I'm good for pep talks, and I'm good at kicking people in the butt and getting them going. But if you're coming to me to feel sorry for you, that'll never happen, ever. I'll never feel sorry for you. I'll have compassion, but I won't feel sorry for you, because if I can pursue my dreams and live my dreams while almost dying multiple times, even in like more recent moments of my life, I didn't let that stop me. So I'm not going to feel sorry for other people that talk like that, because I think it's bullcrap. I think it's a lie from the devil.
But I mean, you said the right word.
Anyone. What?
You said the right word. You would have compassion for them, because I always like to break it down, because some people think you want to sympathize, and that's the wrong thing, because sympathy means you get into the person's sorrow and their sad story, and then you wallow in the sorrow and sadness yourself. And then empathy means you feel the person's emotion and take up their whole baggage. Compassion is, a level higher. It's kind of coming from the level of love. You understand where they are. You stay. You open space. You leave space for them so they can be themselves, but without necessarily sinking into the depths of the negative emotions that they are experiencing. So by you staying up there, you can actually bring them up to the level where they need to be, into a higher, more positive emotion than where they are currently. So, you said the magic word. You have compassion for them, and you try to kick their butt to get them moving.
I'm a compassionate butt kicker. Yeah, that's right.
yeah. But another question for you is, like, how effective is mentoring of women from underrepresented communities? Because I know you do a lot of that also. How do you expect that they can apply the knowledge, that is required to secure the jobs, or start a business or whatever they want to do? How do you even get them going?
Women are the easiest to work with for me. I don't know why. I have no idea why, but I can look at the mentees that I have, and I have a bunch. I have them internationally, and then I have some here in the United States, because I'm a part of an organization in the United States, but I have mentees globally, especially in Africa. I can have one session with them, give them homework. They've already done that work, and then the work that I'm going to give them next time we talk. So when they show up, they're already ahead, ready to go.
Yes.
For some reason, there's a different type of hunger for a long time. I don't know, but there's a hunger in women right now. More men excuses for not taking action. More men are bullheaded about, oh, I know what I'm doing. I'm gonna put my content on YouTube and social media, and I know what I'm doing. And it's just like, you're not listening. You're being a stubborn idiot. Women take action. That is in the United States and here. 95% of my female mentees take committed action. They all get my book. They all read it. They all use it. And that's why they're able to jump ahead. The male mentees don't do that. They'll show up. Here's what'll happen. They'll do their first call, and then 6 months later, they'll go, hey, can we meet again? Have you done the homework? No, I haven't done the homework. Well, no, I'm not going to meet with you again. So for me, and again, you got to remember, it's customized to them. It's not going, I don't give the same instruction each time. It's never the same thing. Because everyone has a different level of media literacy and understanding. So it's never the same thing with each person. But I'll tell you, I'm more excited about working with women in this space than men most of the time. And I love it. I love it. The best students.
Yeah, women are very practical, and they don't have this ego thing that men have, that they want to do it their own way rather than just following a way that already works. Women are kind of practical. If your method works, they just follow it. And
If they respect you.
Yeah, and if they respect us, and they only respect you if your system works. They're not there, hoping for you to discover your potential. They're just looking for you to be where you need to be. And that's one of the reasons why we're seeing even on our platform, BananaCrystal, we have this P2P program in our Tell a Woman campaign. We have this program, and this program, more of the brokers that are women are very successful doing that. So it's kind of a way for them to generate income. They can start with as little as $10 or even $1, and then just every day they trade and just double their money or just increase it by providing basically broker services, peer-to-peer exchange or foreign exchange, basically US dollars to a local currency. So something that used to be handled by bureau de changes and banks, where there were lots of middlemen with huge fees. Now we've democratized that essentially, and we have our brokers, and a lot of them are women, and these women are just they're very consistent. They come on, they trade. They're not trying to price gouge you, like if there's a war or something blows up in some region, the price of the currency could devaluate by 100%. The women brokers will not be that greedy to try to maximize on profit in that war-torn situation. They will have some compassion there, but that's one of the reasons. And just being able to provide for themselves is key, because like you said, you try to mentor men sometimes, and then you run into ego issues and all kinds of stuff going on with them, and very little activity. And then you do the same thing with women, and they're very practical. Okay, this can put food on the table, yeah. And they are the bedrocks of the family. They're the ones that are helping grow the family structure and keep the family structure in place in most societies. So once you take care of that, then you're taking care of families, and that improves the society or the community in general. So it's kind of good to hear what you're saying and what you're doing so far.
The ideal situation, for the record, is the family doing this together. Because when I was in Minnesota with my family before the Tremors started, my girls, they were 6 and 7, 7 and 8 at the time, but they were learning, like they were engaged in the process. So like everything I was doing or everything that Jessica was doing, they were all doing too. They were learning. They would broadcast. They would sit on podcasts. They learned stuff. They asked questions. They learned about setting up the set. They learned a lot of the different roles and took interest in it. And if you think about it from a practical level, if you went up to any kid, said, and you know how kids are, we dream about being Superman and or being firemen or doctors or whatever it may be. We pretend and visualize, and we have visions as kids, and we role play. Kids like that. And if you can teach a kid, like, okay, these dreams that you have, and you encourage a kid to dream, and then you'll go, okay, well, now I'm going to teach you how you can apply that thing you're dreaming about, and you can actually make it tangible in real life. And obviously you don't use those words with kids, but essentially, if you can start working with kids young who already have a dream and vision, they're already showing signs of their interest. You take their interest, attach it to media, all of a sudden you have a business.
Yes.
There's so many ways for kids to get involved in earning revenue now under the care of their parents, and everyone working together on this philosophy that not only do you get to do fun activities together as a family, you bond, but then you're expressing yourself in your true nature of who you are from a very pure, creative place. Who wouldn't be happy doing that? Who wouldn't bond with their mom and dad, their brothers and sisters doing that? Does the creative process get a little crazy? I'm sure. But if I'm playing, not understanding that this is actually going to go somewhere professionally, what a joy that can be. I mean, the idea behind all of this is also, if we're operating, media does this. it allows us to operate in our gifts, talent, and intellectual property. Use all of that. So if we're doing that, if I'm living my God-given purpose and I'm doing the things that I was created to do you think I have time to be a racist or a bigot or a jerk or be selfish or greedy? No, no, not at all, because that's not the spirit you're living in.
Yeah.
So, while again, I can talk about media and success and revenue streams and all these other things,
Yeah.
ultimately, this is about rebuilding communities and healing families.
Yes.
And when we do that, we will change the world.
Yes. And maybe I'll get your opinion afterwards, because we did something. Um, so let me just kind of back up. Right now, you're talking about media, social media, and all that. People are posting content every day, and then people just like it. And what we said was, what if there was a way to tip, instead of liking? If you really truly like the content, why don't you tip? Click the tip button and tip the person generating the content. The challenge that we found was there was no one payment system that works everywhere in the world. So even if you wanted to tip somebody in Bangladesh, you wouldn't be able to tip somebody in Romania or in Sri Lanka or in South Korea or in Argentina. So we did this competition and we said, okay, um, put this tip button, create a button on BananaCrystal, put the button on your page and on your social media page, and then we did a dance competition, and we give money away every month for the dance competition. Post it on TikTok. Now you will see for real who really likes your content. They can tip you any amount, right? They can tip you $1, they can tip you whatever. But that's the true test
Yeah.
to see if what you're creating is useful to people. And so that's something I want to, maybe I'll talk to you offline about, just to kind of get your input on that. But for now, what we're doing is just, we have an ongoing competition every month. People come and then they take part in the competition. They create a dance video, they put it online, and if people like it, they tip them. And it's on our website, the whole instructions for the dance video competition, and it's on TikTok and all these other channels. But it's kind of trying to bring in kids, bring in young people in there, see how they use it, and just kind of get an idea of what is truly valuable. Because if you look at the fourth industrial revolution, everything is going to become micro payments. So when you instead of just paying for something, you're going to be paying micro payments, and that's not possible today. Like you'll be paying 1 cent for this, 2 cents for that. Maybe you want to send this 1 cent, 2 cents, that kind of stuff. It's not possible today because we don't have a system or a technology that allows for that. So you're dealing with whole figures. But with cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, all that stuff, now you can fractionalize to the nth degree and send across the network without having to pay those fees. So it's kind of, it's a roundabout way of going about it, but this creating content, not dying with a story in your head, sharing your vision, there's also a way to monetize it. And if you can monetize whatever you're doing, then it allows you to continue to do what you're doing, because otherwise it becomes, you have to eat and, you have to pay your bills. And if you can't find a way to monetize whatever you're doing, then people usually just kind of say, okay, let me go do something else let me go do something else to pay the bills. And then they never live to their true potential or their true gifts in this world.
Yeah, well, here's the crazy thing. The world we're heading into, that's really going to be the only option. Because robots and technology and AI are going to take a lot of the jobs. And yeah, there'll be jobs, but really, they're not jobs you want. But the cool thing is, because you're going to have two options: universal basic income, or I guess die, universal basic income, or become media literate and find a way to monetize your gifts, talent, and intellectual property. Because the celebrities of the new world are going to be teachers, thought leaders, basically not talking heads as in the news, but people that are teaching, that are educating, and also artists. Artists are going to be celebrities of the new world, and the artists will never have to worry about selling or knowing how to sell, because the platforms that we build now all sell for us. I'm not a good salesperson. I'm good at talking and promoting what I believe in, but I'm not going to sit here and try to sell you something, because that's not my personality. That's not how I think. But by me educating and providing information on a lot of different subjects, people come and hire me to do stuff for them without me ever saying, hey, will you buy my, will you buy my, or will you hire me for? I don't ask those questions. I let the value that I create and provide for my platform do that for me. And it works out. And I like that. So artists who just want to create are going to love where we're going. I love where we're going, because the most difficult part of the process is building your platform. It's the most difficult part. Now, if you have somebody to hire that knows what they're doing, it can be a much quicker process, of course. But if you're like me, like who likes to do everything themselves, that was the most time. That took the most time. However, now that my platform's built, my only job is to create. That's it. And I love that, because that's what I was born to do.
Yes. So you're living your passion finally. You're living your dream, and that's key. Most people, even you, it took you a while to get to that point. So it's kind of a trajectory for everyone. So people shouldn't feel bad or sad or anything if you're not yet there, because it's just a matter of waking up, and whatever it takes to get you to wake up. Like in your case, it was something very dramatic. You don't want to go as dramatic as that.
I'm hard-headed, man. I'm hard-headed. I got to learn the hard way.
Can let it easy, or get the 2x4, boom, and then you have to get, but so
that's what I had to get spanked with too. Hacksaw Jim Duggan, freaking 2x4. Ooh, my butt just thinking about it.
Yeah, so Joshua, this has been amazing. I want people. Any closing thoughts before we wrap up? Any closing thoughts out there? First, I'm going to advise people to go get your book. It's on Amazon. The Devil Inside Me is the title, by Joshua Berglan.
Actually, just go to my website.
Or you can just go to his website. Actually.
Yeah, it's cheap. Everything. Okay, so one of the things that I teach is self-hosting, and also that includes your books. Like, why in the world would I give Amazon 70% of my money that I worked hard for? For what? Because they try to sell you on their distribution, but here's the problem.
But it's not distribution.
It's not distribution. They bury you in the search results. They don't, unless if you pay them. So no, screw them. Come to my website, because it's cheaper. I have an immersive reading platform that, by the way, all of my books, like The Devil Inside Me, has the movies inside of it. Media Company in a Box not only has the video trainings built inside of it, but it has all of the studies and research built inside of it. Every book is interactive. So it's a much more enjoyable experience on my website, and it will save you money. But here's the best part.
Yes.
I'm gonna peel the curtain back. I keep 100% of the money from all of my videos, all of my books, all of my movies, all of my sales, everything. I keep 100% of it. I don't split it with anybody.
Yeah.
So why would I pay? So I'm a big believer in owning what you create and keeping your money. But as far as last words and advice, the only thing I want to say is this. We're heading into a really exciting world that could seem scary if you're paying attention to all the crap you see on your screens, like your TV, your social media. Ignore all of it. And just listen to me for a second. Nothing's ever as bad as they say it will be, and nothing is ever as good either. It's just the way it is. Yeah. But you have an opportunity right now, for the first time in the history that I know of, you have an opportunity to live the life that you dreamed of, doing what you love, doing what you were born to do. We have the technology. It's accessible to us. If you're disabled, if you're in a wheelchair, if you're mentally ill, if you have sensory issues, God bless you. Guess what? You have the same opportunity everyone else does. Man, woman, however you identify, no matter what country you're from, no matter how much money you have, no matter what your education is, you all have the same opportunity. And I want to tell every single one of you watching right now that you can reach out to me on my website and say, hey, saw you on this interview and I heard you say this. I'm like, okay, I'll send you my calendar. We'll set up the appointment. I will give anyone listening right now a free consulting call, and I will show you.
Amazing.
I will show you in that call how to do what I'm talking about, and I will even give you the customized plan for you to follow. Whether you use it or not, that's up to you. In fact, you can even go take what I give you and shop it around. No one's going to show you anything like that, I promise you.
Yes.
But I will give you a free consulting call for an hour. Yeah, I don't even need that long, but I'll spend an hour with you. To anyone that's watching right now, there's no questions asked. I'm not going to try to sell you. I'm not going to put you in a mass email chain. Nothing like that. It's just very straightforward. It's on my website. It talks about this. I'm happy to
Yes.
do this because these skills, there's such an amazing opportunity available for everyone. And the time is running short. There is a small window to jump in and be ready. Because people will try to play catch up, but think about the people that started the internet. Oh my God, I wish I would have started my website sooner, right? Well, this is that kind of opportunity, but it's with media and it's with your future, it's with your legacy, and so on. You have a real opportunity, and I'm here to serve. So reach out to me at www.joshuatberglan.com. Contact me there, and I'm more than happy to help.
And we'll put the links in the show notes so that people can easily reach out to you. But this is an amazing offer to the community here, just being able to get a free consulting session, and just thinking about the amount of time he has to put into doing this is really amazing. And we really thank you for providing this service. The next thing we have to get you to do, though, is to put the pay button from BananaCrystal on your website so that people can pay you from all over the world. Because that's the challenge right now. Somebody sitting in Africa wants to buy your stuff on the website. They don't have US dollars to pay for your book, for example. If they were able to pay in their local currency, like using our plugin, our BananaCrystal plugin, then they can pay in their local currency, and then you get it and you can easily convert it using our P2P service to US dollars. So now you can receive payments from every single country anywhere in the world. So our payment system is the only one that works anywhere in every country in the world. Other payment systems work either in the US, like PayPal, Cash App might work in the US, it doesn't work in Africa, or it works in one region, in US and Europe, and doesn't work in another, so that's something that people are not aware of, but that's where we're going right now. We are one of the first people to do it.
First of all, kudos to you. That's brilliant. I love that. And what you say makes a lot of sense. I typically what ends up happening is that because I work with a lot of people in Africa, Nigeria, Uganda, especially, but I mean all over. And I
Yes.
even translated one of my books into West African Pidgin.
Oh
Which
wow, that's that's amazing.
that was wild. Well, I did that. I work with the University of Nigeria, and Minnie is one of the professors there, and just love this man. And so he goes, "Would you translate it into Pidgin?" I'm like, "Wait, Pidgin is in the Hawaiian Pidgin?" Because I went to college in Hawaii, and Hawaii has a
I
version
know
of Pidgin.
people from West Africa are going to be amused when they hear this.
Yeah,
So they
it's
know
not the same Pidgin. It's totally different. I learned that, but I was able to translate it. And so anyway, I typically end up just giving the PDF away, but what you have is brilliant. And I love it. I'm very, very excited. And I love what you're doing. I want to make sure I say this. What you're doing is so innovative. Not just the payment thing, but what you're doing for women all over the world, especially in underserved regions,
Yes.
is really, really special. And I honor you for that because it matters. And here's the other thing. The impact that you're having there is going to impact women here. And more importantly, it's going to impact men too.
Yes.
Because women do have that effect on men. Even if someone's gay, like it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Like, the role that women play in this world is so important. And when women are healthy and strong and confident, we're all better off. So I love what you're doing.
Yeah, thank you. And boys become men, and
Yeah,
eventually,
Oh
that's where
yeah.
women,
kingmakers.
yeah.
Women
So
women are kingmakers by design. God created women to help men be kings. And
yes,
that is to not diminish the role of a queen, because a queen to me is like the most important role. I'm a
yes,
wild animal, like, like, but like I need that. it's having a kingmaker in your life is a special, special thing. So, but you can't have that. We can't be kings and queens without us being mature and having our stuff together and being confident and strong and healthy. So, for too long, women have been held down, they've been silenced, they've been marginalized, and those days are over. And so people like yourself are help leading the way and blazing that trail and creating those opportunities. So I applaud you for that.
Yes. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure having this conversation with
Yes,
you.
sir.
This has been very, very insightful, and for sharing your experience, your background, your knowledge, your wisdom, all very openly and very freely. And that's most people hide all that and they don't really want to give or share. And like they say, you have to give to receive. So thank you again for coming on board.
Sir, thank you for the opportunity.